The verdict was a mere formality.
Guilty.
Life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The gavel struck with a dry clang, like the lid of a coffin closing forever. My pulse didn't quicken, it slowed. I had already died weeks ago, but then a movement. My wife's hand sliding into his. The police chief, the same one who arrested me. His fingers intertwined in silent intimacy, as if I had ceased to exist. His lips formed words he didn't speak. I hope you rot. The courtroom blurred. Silent laughter floated in the air. A theater where I was the clown. And yet something changed. A touch against my handcuffed wrist, my son. His eyes, too still, too wise for being only 7 years old.
He placed something in my palm.
So discreetly that not even the guards noticed. A folded piece of paper. Back in my cell, I opened it alone. A clumsy, childlike handwriting in a pencil.
Trust me, Dad.
10 days. 10 days. Time became a blade. Every second cut me. Every minute there would be another wound. Lying on the thin mattress, I stared at the ceiling. The metallic echo of the chains sounded every time I moved my wrists. 10 days. The word became rhythm. The rhythm became fire. I still didn't understand what it meant. I only knew I wasn't going to rot in there. That first night in prison, I closed my eyes and saw her. My wife, her lips pressed against his, hidden in the shadows of memory. Her voice in my ear. I love you. Always you. How many times had she said that while plotting my destruction? I rewound the arrest in fragments. The break-in, the boxes of supposed evidence, the receipts, the bank records, a gun he'd never owned. Too perfect, too tidy. His silence that night, his absence, when the handcuffs clicked shut. Pieces she'd ignored began to fall into place. Her long work hours, the sudden closeness to her boss, that same man she used to call arrogant, untrustworthy, and the look they shared in court, so careless it revealed the truth. It wasn't just a betrayal of the flesh, it was a betrayal of life itself. She hadn't just abandoned me, she'd buried me, but there was that paper. My son. His handwriting still burned in my palm like a ghost.
Trust me, Dad.
A child doesn't say those words unless they know something, unless they've seen something. I remembered his face, his calm. He didn't cry when they dragged me from a house. He looked at me as if waiting for me to understand. 10 days. He had proof, a plan. The seed was planted. Suspicion grew silently, watered by rage, sharpened by betrayal, his face impassive, his breathing even. On the outside, a resigned man. Inside, a day counter. Prison is repetition. The clocks are invisible, but they beat with time marked by food trays and boots dragging in the hallways. I took advantage of every second. I listened. The prisoners spoke. The guards were careless. I learned routes, routines, blind spots, not for escape. I wasn't that naive. My son had promised me something bigger than breaking chains. On the 5th night, a guard handed me a letter with no return address, just my name. Inside, a drawing. Our house, done with childlike strokes. The windows were dark. In one corner, a figure larger than all the others. The chief of police. Beside him, on the sidelines, my wife. Almost ready. Ready for what? The next day dragged on. I sharpened my memory, like a knife. I saw again the boss's haughty gesture during the trial, the way my wife avoided my eyes when they discussed hidden accounts she supposedly handled.
7th day.
Another message hidden in a folded newspaper, 3 words, in capital letters. Non-ent DNA. I froze. A shiver ran through me. My son had found something vital. I never doubted he was mine. But what if the message meant something else? Not me, but him, his blood, his truth. I spent the night awake, listening to the buzzing of the prison lights, all the possibilities ravaging my mind. 9th day. Last message. Small, precise handwriting.
Court.
Tomorrow. The guards didn't say anything, just another transfer order, a review of the case. Strange, but I didn't ask. Tomorrow, 10 days. The court was colder, emptier. Just her, the chief, and a judge flipping through papers. They looked confident, untouchable. Then small footsteps were heard. My son walked in with a folder too big for his hands. He walked with precision, as if he'd rehearsed every step. The judge raised an eyebrow. "What is this?" My son placed the folder on the bench. "Evidence." His voice didn't tremble. Inside, DNA reports, paternity tests, call logs, dates, times, all meticulously compiled. Silence split the courtroom in two. The judge reviewed the documents. His face changed from boredom to disbelief, then to fury. He read aloud the words that tore them apart. The child, my son, was not the chief's. The affair was real. The evidence had been planted. Every signature, every false trail, everything led back to them. The color drained from my wife's face. Her lips trembled. "No, not this." The boss squeezed her arm and muttered furiously. His eyes were filled with panic. I remained motionless, serene, silent. The truth had been exposed by someone they never took seriously. My son stared at me, unblinking, just as he had 10 days ago. I nodded. The judge ordered an investigation. The bailiffs approached. My wife screamed, reaching out toward me as if I could erase the truth. "Wait, listen." Her voice, the one I once needed, now seemed foreign to me. The chief's face cracked. Rage spilled from its cracks. He resisted, but they held him down. His eyes searched mine. Hate, yes, but underneath, fear. I leaned in just enough for him to hear. "You buried me alive, and I watched you dig your own grave." He stepped back as if the words held weight. My wife collapsed onto the table, smothering herself. No masks, no manipulation, just naked exposure. Years of playing with me, months of planning, and in 10 days, his own son dismantled everything I thought was untouchable. They took them away. The chains rattled. This time, they weren't mine. That night, my cell was still mine, but it wasn't a coffin anymore. It was a waiting room. I thought of my son, of his calm, his calculation, of how he had loaded the truth like a weapon without flinching. I was no longer a child. I was something sharper. And I was free, even though the bars remained. Freedom isn't walls. Freedom is knowing that the truth belongs to you and the lie to them. My wife's last look will stay with me until I die. Not love, not anger, only recognition. She saw the mask fall from her own face. It turned out that I became, without her, empty, serene, untouchable. I closed my eyes and let the silence descend. 10 days. That was all it took. She had sentenced me to life in prison. My son gave me something greater, a verdict of his own. The final sentence was no longer hers. Yeah, 10 days. That's all it took for my world to collapse. She my accuser. My judge sentenced me to a life in chains, not of iron, but of shame and isolation. Her words were a gavel, slamming down with the weight of betrayal, stripping me of everything I'd built. A lifetime of love, sacrifice, and quiet battles reduced to a single verdict: guilty. No appeal. No mercy. The walls of that metaphorical prison closed in, cold and unyielding, suffocating hope. I was a father, a protector, yet there I stood, condemned by her decree. But my son, he saw through the lies. He saw me, not the caricature painted in her courtroom of judgment. In those 10 days, while I drowned in the silence of my own despair, he was crafting a verdict of his own. Not with words, but with actions, with loyalty that cut through the fog of accusation. He didn't need to speak, his eyes said it all. They burned with a fire that refused to let me fade into the shadows of her sentence. He was my advocate, my jury, my salvation. One night, as the weight of her words pressed heavier than ever, he came to me. The door creaked open, and there he stood tall, resolute, a mirror of the man I'd hoped to raise. "Dad," he said, his voice steady, "you're not what she says. You're my father. That's enough." Those words shattered the bars of my prison. They weren't just a defense. They were a declaration of truth, a reclaiming of my worth. In that moment, her sentence lost its power. The final word was no longer hers, it was his. We sat together, father and son, in the quiet of that night. No grand gestures, no dramatic speeches. Just us, rebuilding what she'd tried to tear down. He spoke of memory-off fishing trips, late-night talks, the time I taught him to fix a busted engine. Each story was a brick, mortared with love, reconstructing the foundation of who we were. I wasn't alone. I never had been. His belief in me was a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge of despair. 10 days had been her weapon, but my son turned them into something greater, a testament to unbreakable bonds. Her verdict had no hold where love reigned. I was free, not because the world declared it, but because my son did. His judgment was my redemption, his loyalty my release. No father should ever feel unwanted, and in his eyes I never would. If this resonates, if you believe in the power of family to rewrite the harshest sentences, give it a like. Share it. Let the world know that love speaks louder than any gavel.